Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to be reviewing the paper ink caps from TrueTube. These are biodegradable, they're environmentally friendly. We're going to sanitize them, pour some ink in them, and just see how they hold up. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, what we're going to talk about is these paper ink caps from TrueTube. We're going to give them a review, see how they work out. It kind of just was brought to my attention that they exist, and so we're going to give them a shot and see what they're like. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Wayne. I'm a tattoo artist with 25 years experience, and I own Wonderland Studios here in Kitchener. Basically what we try to do on this channel is we try to give you a lot of information, all the way from like what to bring to your consultation, how to find a good tattoo artist, all the way up to product reviews to that can help tattoo artists. So today we're talking ink caps. We're talking paper ink caps. We're going to get into the nuts and bolts and exactly, what are ink caps and why is paper different? I don't know. So what we're going to do is we're going to put them to the test. We're going to sanitize them, see how well they stand up to sanitizing, and we'll stick some ink in there and just see how well they hold up and see what that's all about. Kind of go over the pros and cons of paper over plastic. So an ink cap, as a tattoo artist, you know what an ink cap is. But for anybody that's not a tattoo artist, let me kind of describe what this is. Basically, it's just a little plastic, or in this case, a paper cap. And what you're going to do is you're going to disperse the amount of tattoo ink into there that you're going to need to use. So you're going to dip your machine in, back and forth as you need more ink. It's kind of like a palette. A good way to think of it is like a painter's palette. So you're going to have as many as you need for every color you're going to use. And then when you're done with it, you can just throw it all away in the garbage, and that prevents any kind of cross-contamination. Now, what I normally do with an ink cap is the first thing I do before I ever use these as a tattoo is you sanitize it, because they come to you, obviously they're clean, but they're not sanitized, and you're going to be putting ink into that, and then the ink is going into your client's skin. So you're going to want to sanitize them and clean them. So what I normally do is I just let them soak in a bath of alcohol for minimum 10 minutes, but I mean, usually it sits there for a day or so, to make sure that it's, really cleaned out there, to make sure that's really sanitized before we use them. And then they're stored in a separate container. So what we're going to do is we're going to see so I'm not sure how we're going to sanitize these paper ink caps. So I'm going to stick them in a bath of alcohol and just see what happens. And it's a 70% isopropyl alcohol. We're going to see what happens, see if it actually holds together in that or not, and kind of take it from there. There's no real instructions on how to sanitize these when I got them, so I'm just gonna try to do it the same way I would with a plastic ink cap and see if it makes a difference. So that's the first thing we're gonna do. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put them to the test. We're gonna pour a little bit of ink into a sanitized ink cap, and then I pour a little bit of ink into one that just came straight out of the bag, just to see if there's any kind of difference in that respect. At first I was a little bit hesitant, because when I saw that stuff, when I dumped it into a bath of alcohol, it kind of didn't look like it was going to hold up very well. But once you pull it out and let it dry, it seems to be okay. So I want to take a look and see how that's going to actually hold up, like as far as like once you put ink into it, to see if it's going to leak out. Now, even on their website, they say that they have issues with with red and black ink leaking from it. So, and they just tell you to kind of double it up, and it should be fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick it down, see what happens, see if there's a difference between like straight out of the bag and a sanitized ink cap, and just see how well it holds the ink in place. I think that's kind of one of the major concerns we're going to have as tattoo artists. So let's give it a shot and see what happens. So another thing I want to talk about is what happens when you sanitize these ink caps. So basically, I sanitize them and I let it dry for about 15 or 20 minutes, and then I stuck some ink into it. And what I noticed was, let it sit for a few minutes with the ink in there, and it started to kind of seep out through the sides. And so that was a little disheartening, and I was kind of worried about that. So what I did was I tried to experiment with that a little bit more. So what I did was I would stick them in a bath of isopropyl alcohol for about 10 minutes, and then I let them dry for a few hours, and so they were nice and dried out. And then I did the same thing. I put some ink into it, and then I put a camera on that one. I let the camera sit for about 4 hours, and you can see that, right next to like a regular or the bag ink cap and a sanitized ink cap, you let it sit for about 4 hours, and they look exactly the same. And so that was like a real relief for me, because I thought, like, it's kind of, these are worthless if I can't sanitize them before I use them. So that was pretty cool. Well, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro, it's biodegradable, it is eco-friendly, and we're probably going to be going that direction anyways, or we kind of like to as much as possible. So that's kind of a good, all the plus side. The cons. Well, the price tag is about $14 a bag for 200. Now, regular end caps for 1,000, you're paying about $14 Canadian. So that's a little bit of like, it could be a con. I don't really consider it to be a huge expense, like an extra, it's an extra couple bucks, but it's not a big deal. Especially in the long run, if you think that you're kind of working towards a cleaner goal or a cleaner end, I think that's kind of okay. So I guess another con would be the production. Like, we're not really sure what the carbon footprint is as far as producing a paper end cap versus a plastic one. So I think at this point it's just kind of up in the air, and hopefully we get to learn more about that in the future. But I think it's probably safe to say that it can't be worse. So today we're talking about paper versus plastic. I guess the big thing here is that everyone knows what plastic is, and plastic is cheap, it's durable, and it's easy to mold. So it's pretty much everywhere you look. You see it throughout your house, you'll see it in your car. You'd be hard pressed to find a product that doesn't have plastic in it, for the most part. Like, even when you go to the grocery store, it's like everything is wrapped in plastic. So the problem with that, obviously, is that plastic is durable and it doesn't break down. And you can recycle it, but I mean, a lot of people, like, you're obviously not recycling end caps because they're contaminated. So what you have to think about is that this sits in a landfill and it takes forever to decompose. And the big problem is that microplastics are being found throughout everything. So you'll find it in your drinking water, you'll find it in the food you eat. It's pretty much a big problem that no one seems to be talking about. People are really concerned, I think, about the CO2 in the air and like the climate change and that kind of thing. But this is kind of like a growing problem that seems to be just kind of flying under the radar. I got wise to it a couple of years ago, and it really kind of made me think about what we're doing and the whole, not just like, at Wonderland, but what we're doing as an industry as well, and like the tattoo artist carbon footprint. So I know that like a paper ink cap isn't going to, it's not going to change the world, but it's a good first step, I think, for the tattoo industry. So if we can start moving away from plastics and into something that's a little more sustainable and biodegradable, that would be really good to see. So TrueTube also offers like a biodegradable clipcord cover, machine bags, bottle bags, and those kind of things. So I think a biodegradable barrier is pretty cool if we can, it's another good like step towards in the right direction. It'd be really interesting to see if you can make something like this, but as like a grip for your tattoo machine, or for like a casing for your cartridge to go in. Again, I think that it's gonna be a little while down the line, but if we can kind of start working towards that, that might be kind of cool too, to see where that ends up in the future. All right, so paper or plastic, what's the takeaway here? I guess the big thing is I can't imagine a world anytime soon where we're going free of all plastics, but I think if we can kind of start working and taking steps towards, being more sustainable as a community, I think that's a pretty good thing. It's always going to be a good thing. So, I don't think like just using paper ink caps is going to change the world, but I think if we start implementing some of these more sustainable measures into what we're doing, I think that's probably, it's probably a good step in the right direction. And like I was saying earlier, the government, at least in Canada, is trying to put a ban on single-use plastics. So eventually we're going to have to, to do something about this anyways. And I think within the tattoo community, we're pretty well known as tattoo artists for being ahead of the curve. So, I mean, it's probably a good place to get, in front of all that stuff, so that when the government does finally get around to making some kind of rules or implementing anything, that was so far, that was so yesterday that we're already far ahead of it. So anyhow, if you like the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you don't like the video, comment as well. I kind of want to know, I definitely want to open a discussion and hear from people and get kind of a feel for what everybody's thinking. So anyhow, I'm Wayne. This is Wonderland Studios. And until next time, we'll see you later.